Welcome to Cut Daisies and Unicorns. Glad to have you here.
You get really good at that.
Yeah, it's fun to do an intro.
Is it?
Yeah,
Yeah. It feels like it's the beginning of something.
It does.
Instead of the end.
yeah, it's brand new. You don't know what's coming.
Well, that's so true. Like brand spontaneity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, welcome everyone. We're glad that you're here listening to one of our trailers coming into the 2021 season of Cut Daisies and Unicorns. And as a host, my name's Steve, and the gentleman with the lovely velvety voice is Phil.
Hey, everybody.
And we're doing, this episode is a PS episode. It's a Phil and Steve episode. Our goal and our desire is to be able to have as many different people on the podcast. But while we're doing that, we thought you might be thinking, hold it, it's a podcast season 2021. Was there a podcast season 2020? And the answer was yes. Yes, there was, but none of them were published.
Right.
And so we're going to invite you to consider that your future holds a present moment of the past that's fully delightful in a beautiful way. So we've got a couple of interviews. We've got some other zany things about me and Phil just sitting down and talking and stuff like that.
Right.
And yeah, so topic of this trailer is Lost and Found.
Mm.
And I was actually contemplating the idea of expiration dates at the Lost and Found.
Mm.
You know, different community places have that if items are lost, you can go to the Lost and Found and you can rummage through a non-garage sale version of, here's all this stuff, no one's claimed it, but it's still there. I don't know. Is there an expiration date? Like if you swing by a Lost and Found and you see something there for obviously a couple days, you wouldn't pick it up.
Right.
But is there a socially accepted protocol of like if something is there for a month or 2 months, does it mean the person really lost it? Or does it mean the person was actually getting rid of it without having to go to Goodwill?
That is quite the thing to ponder. And what is the acceptable range then for someone to come along and say, oh, here's the Lost and Found? I mean, is there with the company an opportunity for them to say, oh, like dibs on that one because I'm going to wait until the acceptable period of time and then I'm going to claim it?
I mean, I don't know how many Yeti cups I've walked by in Lost and Founds. You know, and I see a Yeti cup. And if I'm going to see a Yeti cup, my thought, last time I checked, Yeti cups cost some money.
They do.
I mean, they're not inexpensive. They do their job very well, by the way. Yeti, not a sponsor yet.
Yeah.
But the reality is that, you know, like if you're walking by these Yeti cups, I mean, and you see the Yeti cup for, like, based on value. I think that's what I do, based on value. You know, so the higher the value of the item,
Yeah.
the longer I'll just let it sit.
And then there are certain items that you know the value of, but there are certain items that could be lost that you think have no value that actually are valuable.
Oh, man. The stories. I've got this thing with Goodwill. I have a Goodwill antenna built in me, and it's just really weird. Like, when I lived in Iowa, there were 3 Goodwills, like, within a proximity of where I lived. And so I would just be like, I'd put my little invisible Goodwill antenna up and be like, hey, Goodwill, do you have anything that I need to come claim? And then internally, the antenna, I would receive this message. No, not today.
Like a magic 8 ball.
Yeah. And then There'd be times, and I'd be like, well, what about this goodwill? Goodwill, is there anything within you that is meant for me? And then if I would get the sense of, yeah, I need to go in. Every time that's happened, I've walked in and there's been something there that has specifically been meant for my life and my world and universe. It's so crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. But when you talk about lost and found, I was wondering, have you ever been lost?
I always remember a specific time. And this, just in case my mom's listening, like, Mom, I don't blame you. But so I was in junior high, and I was at a track meet. Was running. I think at that point in time, I only did sprints.
Okay.
I hated long distance running, and I still don't love it.
Right.
But I was doing mainly sprints. I was skinny. I was fast. So sprints were what it was all about.
Yeah.
And I love soccer sprints. That's pretty much what the game entails. But
Yeah.
we were there we traveled by the school. We took a bus out there. My mom worked at the college university there, and so she said, "Hey, don't worry about jumping back on the bus. You're going to wait there and we'll come and pick you up." So I had a classmate who we were going to take him home too. So we said, all right, we're not getting back on the bus. And I think somebody must have communicated that to the school because they allowed us not to get back on the bus.
Wow.
So we sat there and we waited.
And waited.
And we waited and we waited. And at a certain point in time, I mean, for probably a good amount of that time, we didn't even think we were lost. But after it got to be like 2 hours, 2.5 hours, we were sitting waiting, and we were thinking, I don't know if anybody's coming to claim us.
Whoa.
Right. So we kind of sit on this little rock. Sometimes we'd walk around, but we'd try to stay in the general location just in case anybody came to claim us.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, like, here's the part where we're going to ask our listeners to just go with it. Just go with us just for a moment and think around this story.
Mm-hmm.
Was Phil really lost? Phil knew where he was at. He was where he was supposed to be.
Right.
And yet, when he didn't show up where people thought he would be, they didn't know where he was. But during that time, he knew exactly where he was.
And apparently it caused a real panic, especially amongst my mom. And then that kind of spread a little bit as she told people, like, they're lost. I don't know where they're at.
Yeah.
So it did cause quite a panic, but we weren't necessarily panicked.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I was reminiscing about, like, trying to think about times. I grew up on a farm in Michigan, and so, like, and it was like second grade when we moved to that farm. And so, but I mean, it was like 60 acres of wooded lot. And I mean, this was back in the day where I'd walk out the back door of the house and walk into the woods and be gone for 4 hours and then make my way back and things like that. And so it's just one of those things where I had to like scrape. I'm like, when have I been lost? Like, or the sense of fear of not knowing my surroundings, and stuff like that. And there's two things come to my mind. One, as a young, it's a young, formidable, memory of mine of being at my grandma's house. And when I was at my grandma's house, I was in the bathroom, and so it must have been the time when we lived up north and we were in for a holiday. And as we were in for the holiday, I remember coming out of the bathroom robed in a towel. And I remember just kind of like soap getting cleared out of my eyes and coming out of the bathroom, and there was a set of legs there. And I just came up to the set of legs and wrapped my arms around it the, and in my heart, I was giving my mom a hug until I looked up and I saw my Aunt Linda. And I know she's going to listen to some of this stuff. So, hey, Aunt Linda. And I just remember my heart feeling so, because I thought I was in the relational homeness of my mom.
Mm-hmm.
But the realization was that, yeah, here was a person who loved me, but this is not where I felt like I was settled and seated.
Mm.
And so, like, there's that one thing. And then most recently, in our new move
Yeah.
from Iowa to Chicagoland, Amy and I were out on a walk with Gypsy the dog. And we'll have stories about Gypsy later. I won't even get into that. That's a saga.
Gypsy's got great stories.
Oh, so good, so good, and everyone has survived to date. But I remember we went out to take her for a walk around the neighborhood, and I did have my phone in my pocket. And as we were going, since we live somewhat in proximity to Lake Michigan, the streets aren't square. So you can't walk 4 blocks one way and 3 blocks another way and take a different turn and then go 2 more blocks and then think that you're coming back around in a square. And at some point, Amy was like, hey, shouldn't Green Bay be over there? And I was just like, the newness of the move and everything, my orientation was way off. And I'm like, I am totally messed up here. I've lost all sense of, I don't know. And I just remember that panic just well up in me about being like, my surroundings, they're not what, like, I'm used to, being able to do. I remember,
Sure.
like, even in the move, like driving, into Chicago, Albany Park.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of, for 3 weeks, having to use, the map app
Mm-hmm.
to make the same turns because it just wasn't ingrained in all that stuff.
Right.
So anyway, lostness. Maybe as a listener, you're like, oh man, I can really identify with that. And or maybe, what would be really cool is on our Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to submit a time of one of your stories of being lost and the feelings that you went through, hey, go ahead, visit Facebook, Cut Daisies and Unicorns, our page, like it, and leave your story there. Now, do understand, we're previewing what's going to be able to be posted.
Right.
So if you keep posting things and you wonder why it's not coming up, has nothing to do with whether we like you. It just means we don't like the story at the time.
Yeah, so it leads into where people can find us. So our Facebook page is going to be there.
And
Our YouTube page will be there, our channel.
yeah,
They can also comment right underneath those videos. We'll
yeah.
also be checking in there as well. So
yeah. And then so there's Facebook, there's YouTube, and then we're gonna offer some kind of pod something.
right. So then it'll, of course, if you're looking for the audio, because those will both be video sources.
Yep.
If you're looking for the audio, I mean, the best place is if you're already a podcast listener, then you go to the same place you get your other podcasts from.
Yeah.
So main sources, lots of people listen to podcasts on Apple Music, lots of people listen to Spotify and Amazon Music, all have the regular channels for the podcast, and all the audio will be up there. But any place where you, like currently, that's out in the universe right now for picking up a podcast, we're most likely, I would say 95%, will be on every channel that you can be able to find one. You can go to our website, and there you're going to find an embed player, and you're going to be able to click on the audio episodes of those things.
Yeah, and our website developer Josh is hard at work, at least conceptually. We've got some things going through that.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing about the idea of time travel and what it means to be able to move from place and space while you remain where you are is even, for instance, you'll be able to go back in time with us to the 2020 recordings that we have. We'll call that sitting on the shelf,
Right.
and you'll be able to see even the progression of our logo stuff. We currently just added this logo, the Cut Daisies and Unicorns logo, and actually it's going to move into a different variation of even that. And so, yeah.
Which I think, by the way, it's lovely.
Yeah, you were telling me the other day the unicorn looks sad.
Well, his head's a little drooped, but
I said he was contemplating.
Right.
You know, he's meandering through the meadow, which is like another M&M of a life that should occur.
Right.
Everybody needs to meander through
which
the
then
meadow.
I guess is the same thing you can do for anything. You can put your feelings into this unicorn.
Oh, I have so many feelings that came out of that unicorn. And we're not talking about rainbows. All right. Well, hey, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to this trailer. Phil and I are super excited. And just looking forward to the conversations, the shared conversations, the idea of being able to explore not only our current surroundings, which there's a lot of fun things that we'll be able to, and fun people that we'll be able to talk about and talk with. But then what we want to do is we also want to look forward to the time when we're going to be able to get people that you recommend that we should be able to talk with. And hey, on the next trailer, we're going to be talking about the origins of Cut Daisies and Unicorns.
The origin story is always necessary.
And it's going to be as good as we tell it. All right. So anyway, for this moment, in this time, we just want to say thank you for checking in. We look forward to seeing you soon.
Take care, everybody.